had one, he told me the name of who he was going to go with.
Because I talked with Russ from Acro.
Okay. Okay, yep, okay,
He says he's familiar with the church, he's worked there before.
okay,
Russ has done work for the city.
okay, yep,
Seems to be a good guy.
yep, I think he even did work in my house. Thanks, I'll, let them know that. Yeah. Real soon.
Get going. Call to order the Board of Public Works for Thursday, September 10th. Item 1 on the agenda is the drinking water treatment facility, Myron Construction Pay Estimate Number 1. Becker Hoppy this morning forwarded a list of values and line items for the work that was done, which I think is fine. The totals don't match what was provided earlier this week, and I still believe there's still some missing documentation to complete the pay request number 1. And you have,
Yeah, I do. I don't even know if we want to make a motion for approval of this payment before we begin discussion, but I'm happy to share my comments, and I'd like to thank Steve for forwarding to Lori so quickly at her request the copies of the bookmark general and supplementary conditions for our review of the contract. It didn't give us a whole lot of time to review, but I'm concerned about a couple of things I'd like to share with the other board members and put on the record. First of all, the cover letter, which there was an updated one I think Lori sent this morning. I don't know that the cover letter changed, but I think I have the most current version. Correct me if I don't. It's from Alan Howe, the contract administrator. It sounds a little weak to me.
I think that's for the wastewater.
Oh, you're on the drinking water
I'm on-
one.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yep.
Okay, never mind. So was there another one that was similar for the drinking water one?
There was one from Becker Hoppy on the drinking water one.
Okay, that one I don't think I saw. Everything I got was from the,
Yeah, okay.
I
So-
guess, yeah, the email, I'm sorry, Steve sent the supplementary and general conditions for the drinking water treatment facility contract, so we can talk about that now. But I
Okay.
understand that's the same for the wastewater treatment facility?
I believe they're substantially similar, yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so, Article 15 talks about payments to the contractor. Progress payments, so is this for unit price work or cost of work? Or both for the drinking water?
Both. It would be both.
Both, okay. And then 30 days before the date established in the agreement, the contractor shall submit to the engineer an application for payment filled out and signed by the contractor, covering work completed as of the date of the application and accompanied by such supporting documentation as is required by the contract documents. If payment is requested on the basis of materials and equipment not incorporated in the work but delivered and suitably stored at the site, which the cover letter I'm looking at states for the wastewater treatment facility. I don't know if that's the same case for the drinking water facility. Are there materials that are stored on the site?
Steve Opatic, Becker Happy Engineers. There are some, but probably not to the extent that there are at the wastewater plant.
Okay,
The drinking water had a substantial amount of earthwork. I think that was, and a lot of everything else at the water plant was mobilization related, where they're bringing in their equipment and starting to stage some materials.
okay. And I apologize, I think everything I got was from the wastewater treatment facility. I don't remember seeing anything from the drinking water, but other than the conditions of the contract. But in any event, if request for the payment is at all based on materials not yet used but stored on the site, the application for payment shall also be accompanied by a bill of sale, an invoice or other documentation warranting that the owner has received the materials and equipment free and clear of all liens, and evidence that the materials and equipment are covered by appropriate property insurance while they're sitting there waiting to be incorporated into the work. So again, I don't have a copy of the letter for the drinking facility, but the wastewater one is says that there are no lien waivers attached. And if you go to the Article 2, which is referenced in Article 15, payment to contractors, in the supplementary conditions, it talks about copies that shall be provided to the owner. So I got too many papers here. It was Article 8, I'm sorry, in the supplemental conditions that said, the owner may at any time require the contractor to furnish lien waivers for labor and materials covered by specified applications for payment. So if the drinking facility request for payment is similar to the wastewater one, where there's no recommendation for payment or lien waivers attached, I'm still reluctant, because under the contract, Article 15.01C, in review of applications, it says, the engineer will, within 10 days after receipt of each application for payment, either indicate in writing a recommendation of payment or send it back. And again, the letter, not for this one, but the other one, if it's similar, doesn't say I recommend payment. It says absent are the lien waivers, and please consider processing this and paying it. I'd like to see for the drinking treatment facility, a statement from the engineer or the contractor saying, we recommend payment of this, but then I'm concerned about lien waivers, proper insurance on materials that have not yet been used. I really, and it's not personal to anybody, these are two
Sure.
very huge, expensive projects, and I think the city definitely needs to do its due diligence in expecting that all this documentation be provided at the beginning and followed throughout the course of these projects. Thank you.
I was just going to speak to, I did provide a letter dated September 3rd, would have been in the original, should have been in the original packet. I don't know that I got it to Lori in time before holiday kicked in. What I will mention is my final paragraph on there, I stated that we do not certify the unit prices listed in this application. However, we are confident the total cost of work completed to date greatly exceeds the amount of payment requested and recommend payment. I do respect and understand your comments about the completeness of the documentation. And, you know, that, again, as I had mentioned at the last one, it was our understanding, and I believe the contractor may be online too, this was to get some work to some subs that are sort of the first out of the gate, who have a large amount of expense, and then they were intending to catch everything up. I'm not trying to explain for them, but just explaining why this came before the board.
As far as insurance is concerned, you know, the city purchased the builder's risk. So I don't know in that situation if our policy would cover, you know, I can certainly ask Arthur J. Gallagher or, you know, access the policy to see. But you would think that would be one of the things that, you know, would be covered under that policy would be, you know, materials on site.
So, Steve, thank you for that, and I appreciate too the request for the payment and the need by Myron to have the money to pay the subs right away, but likewise, we got to follow the contract provisions, that's why we have them. For the protection of both parties, and now that we're looking at all this, I just want to make sure our insurance is good for that, and that we do have the lien waivers. And again, I'd like to put in the record, if it's from the last board packet, Lori, I don't have that in front of me, but we should have a request
Yep,
for
right here.
application for payment for the drinking water facility. And does that cover letter read the same?
Like Steve said, there was a, you know, like the last paragraph.
Oh, okay, I don't think I saw that letter, I apologize.
This is Jack with Myron. Can I just say one quick thing on lien waivers?
Sure.
Since we have not, and I would assume this applies to Kyle's project too, the wastewater, in either case, lien waivers would not be started until we receive a payment from the city. That's those come after we receive payment. So for the first pay application, we would not have any lien waivers to provide because we have not received or paid any subs yet for work put into place. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I thought I saw something on that in here, but is that inconsistent with what I read?
Lori, are you able, no?
Yeah, we can hear you, Alan.
Okay, good. I can't,
Oh, very lightly.
it doesn't note that how is that? Does that sound any better?
Yep, that's better.
Okay, it doesn't note that I'm actually speaking. So I was trying to apologize there. Ian and Jack had basically made the same comment that I had. You know, the first pay application, as far as insurance is concerned, that insurance is proven with the bonds as part of the signing of the original contract. So all the insurance is in order. The bonds, as far as performance and payment, are included as part of the original, signing of the contract. So that's in place. And as far as, just to reiterate what Jack had said, many times at the beginning of the project are, 10% of the contractor's costs are typically upfront dealing with their insurance payments. They have, they have to pay their bonds, and we've gone through, at this point, we're over 100 submittals, as well as, over probably 50 RFIs. The contractor has done plenty of work on site already, from excavation to base slabs to ready to start blocking up the administration building. And we could request a what you call it, a set of lien waivers, but they're going to be conditional. All the subs are going to say it's conditional on us being paid. And we had talked about this during the pre-con that, the first payment, once it's made, any subsequent pay request will require an affidavit or, official lien waivers from the subs. So we do allow the affidavit as well as what do you call those, lien waivers, I was not thinking there. So it's not uncommon to not have lien waivers with the first pay app. And so I don't think that that's in any contradictory or contradicting anything that's in the front end document as far as Article 15 is concerned. As far as storage of materials on site, we are able to physically see, the material that's on site. It's pipe or it's building material, it's block and it's brick. When it's on site, we can see it as being installed. We don't necessarily look for invoices from the contractor because it's actually being put in place. Something that we ask for invoices for, this is determined as part of the supplementary conditions, are any equipment that is stored off-site. Normally on-site, it's not necessary for invoices and photos and proof that you have it insured. One, the builder's risk does cover some of that, but also so does the contractor's insurance. They own the site from the date that the contract is signed until we close it out. So in reality, they have ownership of this site. So I would not, not to be confrontational with you, Lori, but I believe that with this first pay app, that what has been submitted is typical and what you would see from a contractor for most projects, and not out of the ordinary.
Thank you, and I don't know who's speaking, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with all of you. This is Ann Jacobson, a member of the board, and again, I'm the city attorney. I'm not familiar with the engineering end of these projects or looking at unit prices or anything of the sort. I'm just looking at the bald contract language, so I appreciate you filling in the details for me about the pattern and practice and the pre-con conference and so forth. So as Eric pointed out, when I'm looking at the September 3rd request for payment on the drinking water treatment facility, that request said $1,557,472.37, and the current amount is for what amount? What is the request today for the drinking water?
It was 1,656,637.80.
All right. So based on the representations that have been made and the fact that the lien waivers will come, and I will take them at their word that the insurance covers this, and we're going to get the lien waivers when the subs get paid, I would move to approve payment on the drinking water side.
I'll second the motion. I get a question, so like the submitted payment form that you said, Ann, was for, at least at the last meeting, was the,
Wastewater was the one I saw. I'm sorry I didn't have the drinking water one with me.
oh, that was this one. So that was, on the drinking water was, we were, once you take retainage off, we had like 1,557,000, right? So.
That's what this said, yeah, 472.37. I'll give this
Yeah.
back to you.
So, but the list of values that was submitted this morning does not,
Okay.
doesn't match up to that. So, I guess
So do we have a current pay estimate that's different from that one you just showed me that was presented 2 days ago?
that's correct. So the one that was submitted 2 days ago, the total completed and stored showed a $1,639,444.60.
Okay,
The itemized list, the unit prices shows a request of $1,656,637.80. And of course, both of those numbers are before retainage.
so what's the correct amount? Do we know?
Okay. This is Jack with Myron. I can shed some light on that really quickly here. The unit, so the difference in the two numbers there, has to do with the, unit price for, volume 1 and 2, excavation and backfill. There was, on our end, a little bit of a clerical, mistake. The, unit prices that were shown on our original invoice were not correct. We have, bond costs associated with all of those, unit prices individually. And so I have updated that in the, spreadsheet that I sent over this morning to show the correct unit prices, which are increased a little bit because of our bond costs associated with those unit prices.
So then I don't have a signed cover sheet from you, Jack, or from Myron on that amount.
Yep, and I know that Tanya and Nina are working on that as we speak.
So they're gonna work on, so they're also gonna work on the update for the retainage that will be taken off, if those are the accurate values
Yeah.
that you sent this morning, correct?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, correct. Yep, and then this will get updated into the project EJCDC form, between hopefully today and tomorrow with Tanya and I, and we'll have it officially on the, project EJCDC form. It'll be broken out by structure and alternate and everything else. So yeah, the amount that I sent over today should be correct.
So they're submitting payment and based on the amounts that they submitted this morning with the updated unit prices and the quantities
Okay,
that they have. And so those will be the numbers that they'll use. They'll use the proper retainage on the payment form, so.
so are we able to even take action today on a specific amount? Are you satisfied? Have you seen some amount that you're comfortable authorizing payment for
like-
without having the sheet in front of us to sign approval?
Yeah, like I said, I'm comfortable with the work that they've done. I haven't run all the numbers in every one of the sheets this morning, but, I'm comfortable with the sheets as they've laid them out. They're not in the EJCDC form, but Jack said they'll put them in that correct form. And so if I have that number, and I know that work has been done to date, and then if we get a fully signed form along with showing the proper retainage and stuff being withheld, I think, I'm comfortable, if you're comfortable with the documentation, that we don't need the lien waivers on the first payment form at this point in time.
I would agree with that, but I think
Okay.
I hear you saying that we don't have the proper forms yet today to even approve an amount. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, technically, they
I would
are
agree
supposed to
with
be.
that.
Yeah, okay.
I think we need to wait till
I
that
can-
gets updated.
This is Jack again. I can give you, so the contract has 5% retainage. So the 5% of the amount that I submitted this morning is $82,831.89. That would be the retainage. Then the amount owed after that would be $1,573,805.91.
So I guess, that part of it, with the board and with the city as well is, we're looking at multiple documents coming in at different days when we should be looking at one document coming in from Myron through the engineers, in confirmation. And this is pay estimate number one. And so my concern is that we are, just tracking this project, if we have, dozens of payments throughout these projects, we need to be able to track this properly, and know where the money's going for each of these, and that's why we're hung up right now on whether to approve these right now, because we haven't gotten all the documents from Myron, to move these forward and to do this the way it should be, especially on number one. So I feel like we're starting out the project and, kind of a little bit haphazardly, and I'm really not comfortable with it right now. And so,
I agree.
Eric, this is Al. If I may chat just a minute.
go ahead, Al.
Okay, all right. And Eric, I don't, with the rush here for this to come in, and then you looking at the second version for consideration for approval, I have to say that I appreciate that opportunity. I think what had really kicked this off is this month, the month of September, the Clean Water Drinking Fund as well as the Clean Water Loan Fund both have a one pay period. And I know I've been working with the project manager for the wastewater side, and we've gone through a couple different iterations of the schedule of values. That first time around, the first one we submitted did not have the full schedule of values in it, and I'll take a responsibility for that, because typically we do with the understanding that it would follow up with the second pay. In the meantime, after that one was submitted, actually, Myron had submitted to me the revised schedule of values the following day. And we had worked through a couple of different, iterations since then. And so I've, from the wastewater side, I submitted that to you last night. It took a little bit. We're going back and forth. I know it came together quickly. I believe the numbers that you have seen from the first version, as far as wastewater is concerned, the first version to the second version, those numbers should be the same.
Yes,
And,
they are. Yep.
And the retainage should be correct. So all those numbers should double check. Now, as you go through those schedule values, the appropriate amounts have been applied to the line items. And if you scroll through, I mean, I understand it's required by the contractor, and we require it, so it makes life and it makes our RE's life a lot easier for reviewing what is on site. You'll notice that when you look at that breakdown, there's labor and materials, right? So that we know when there's materials on site that we can review that and apply an appropriate amount that's on site. And then, well, just because it's on site doesn't mean that the labor's been applied, so the labor is looked at differently. So it has been broken down. You'll see, and there's multiple pages, right? There's 47 pages, and this version right now, and Jack, you can correct me, but I believe that you are actually going to be going through a revised accounting software, correct, in which the schedule values that we see is probably going to be in a different form, right? I mean, it may not be in this Excel format. So that was part of the messiness with that first pay app. And then trying to hit between that, trying to hit the first pay, the deadline for the DNR. Some of it came together. I don't necessarily know if Myron would have submitted pay apps as quickly as they had to meet, knowing that there weren't two deadlines in September, but there's only one deadline in September. So I would respectfully request that the board look at this as both groups are trying to rush and are trying to push something through and pull some wool over the eyes. Even though it does have that appearance, I'm not going to say that you couldn't be construed in that fashion. But Eric, from a wastewater standpoint, I wouldn't have submitted it to you. I mean, it has my name on it, so I have reviewed it, and I feel comfortable with what we have submitted. I've reviewed it with our on-site person, with all the folks that are involved, gone over a couple iterations with the contractor, and revised that number to come up with this final submittal from a wastewater standpoint. So I appreciate that you have been willing to look at this more than once, and apologize if the format has changed for both of these. It is coming together, and you're right. Normally the forms would look consistent, and they will from a second standpoint, from the second submittal standpoint. But I just want to assure the board that there's by no means any underheadedness trying to happening here or moving forward. And if I guess and I apologize, did you say Miss Ann you were the attorney, correct?
Yes.
I know you had said that my cover letter was weak, and this is my first project with the city of Wausau. Is there a format that you would like to see, that you want to see, a particular type of information in that cover letter? Anything summarized, or I pointed out that there's an absence of the affidavit. I did that on purpose because this is our first pay app, and I'd said we're not going to see any lien waivers until subsequent pay applications. So do you have an example from a previous project that you would like both water and wastewater to follow? So that,
I don't. I was just rushing to review the general conditions this morning, and still nowhere do I see anywhere where it says that lien waivers will only come with second payments and beyond. But it did say that the engineer will make a recommendation of payment. And again, now we're talking about the wastewater side, which is probably out of order, given that we're not on that item on the agenda yet. But
Sure.
since you asked, that was the letter I was looking at when Eric called for the drinking water item on the agenda. So I was out of order to be talking about the wastewater letter, but that's the only one I have in front of me. That's the one I was referencing. And it's it didn't say I recommend payment, and it said absent from this application are the lien waivers, which will come with subsequent applications, implying that maybe they were required, which sent me back to the contract. And it does say, application for payment shall be accompanied by blah, 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 blah. And
Sure.
it doesn't say with second and subsequent pay applications. So I'm just going surely by the contractual language.
Understood.
Lori, when we're managing our typical street projects, do we not get lien waivers until the second payment is
With street projects, we typically don't get them until the end of the project.
the end of the project? Okay. And that's what our contract says.
This is Al Donahue again. And of course, here, I'm sure many of the lien waivers, the intermediate lien waivers that we get with each of the pay apps will be more of an affidavit. But, again, at the end of the project, nothing gets, that final payment doesn't get made until all those lien waivers are made. So that is not, that'll be the same as the case here, that we'll for sure have all the final lien waivers for many of the subs that were on the project at the end of the job.
So, Alan, this is Mary Ann, I'm the finance director. So when we get these interim affidavits, will they refer to, like, pay estimate 1, where they're saying, like, if it was the electrician's affidavit will say, I submitted a pay application, pay estimate 1, and I've been paid that amount minus retainage? Or can you kind of give us an
Yeah,
idea going forward? Because it'll be helpful when we review pay estimate too, also.
Sure, and that's fine. And I can forward to you an example. We've done several projects with Myron in the past, and it's a all-encompassing affidavit that would come from Myron themselves, stating that there are no liens contingent upon payment of the contractor receiving payment and them paying their subs. Now, what we do have is that's the beauty of the payment bond as well as the performance bond. But from a payment bond standpoint, if we have any subs that come to us as the engineer, they'll come to me and say, look, my general's not paying me, and that's where that bond comes into. So if we have, and I have yet to have in the last 20 years of working with Myron and contractors, yet to have a general go south on their subs. Haven't, thank goodness, had to deal with that for not lack of payment. But I usually deal with an affidavit that's a general saying we're not holding the city liable. And at the end of the project, we'll get all those final lien waivers from those individual contractors. So no, during the subsequent payments, there would not be individuals from all the subs. It would be one general affidavit from the general contractor, and that'd be Myron.
Thank you, that's helpful.
So we have a motion and a second. I guess the question is for the drinking water treatment facility.
Did we get a second?
We did, I seconded
Oh,
the
okay.
motion.
All right.
That you made. I guess we could approve this if we get a signed document before, before the end of today, for us to review. And if
I just wish they would have waited to come back when they were ready.
I know, I would agree. We're not doubting the fact that the work
Correct.
has been done, and we're
That's
not doubting
exactly what I
the
was
fact-
thinking.
yeah.
Yep.
And so, but it's messy, and this is payment number 1 for the project, and it's got to get cleaned up, and so so I guess it's up to us if we want to go ahead and move forward with that, if we get the proper signed documents and stuff in time to have the submissions and stuff to DNR. So
What's the deadline for the submission to the DNR?
I think it's tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, I believe Susan said it's tomorrow.
Are we all here tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm on the line. Yes, it is tomorrow.
Are we all here tomorrow?
I'm here tomorrow.
I am too. Do we want to schedule another meeting on 24 hours' notice of the board for tomorrow? And hopefully we'll see the proper documentation.
I feel comfortable voting if Eric is, and Lori are going to manage getting it. I mean, you know, in the statement about the 5% retainage, that, you know, seemed like the right math. So, you know, as long as you get, you know, I feel like we can rely on, and if it doesn't come in, then we won't
Doesn't
submit
get
it to the
submitted.
DNR.
Right.
Unless you, I mean, I'm happy either way.
Yeah, I see what
I
you're
can-
saying.
I can-
Yeah, I trust Eric to review it too, and I guess I'm still not, I mean, you're right, the amount they're asking, when you subtract the retainage from the higher amount, and then you get the amount they're asking, that math checks out. I just don't know what the numbers represent. I don't have anything in front of me, but I would trust the judgment of the other board members. As you know me, I'm always hesitant to approve things on numerous contingencies.
I know,
But-
and
I'm with you, I don't think anybody's trying to hoodwink us or
Right.
say work's been done that hasn't been done, but
I think the one thing is, I mean, it does kind of put the onus back on them, because if they don't get us that documentation and those signatures and stuff, it doesn't get submitted to the DNR, you know, because that will happen tomorrow or not happen tomorrow, whatever.
That's
so I
correct.
should probably change, well, the motion should include the amount. So are you comfortable then with that $1,573,805.91?
Yeah,
Are we saying that is the amount then?
yeah, that would be the payment amount for the drinking water facility.
Okay, for
Yeah.
payment number one.
For
So
payment
I
number
can,
one.
may I amend my motion to include that authorization for payment of that amount is contingent upon them satisfying you as their chair of our board that the proper documentation has been submitted by the end of today?
Yes, and I will second that. I'll
Okay.
follow that. Yep.
Yep. Eric, this is Susan. May I interject here?
Go ahead.
I just want to add in here that one of the pieces of documentation that's required for DNR is the wage report, weekly payroll report that needs to be submitted to Donahue for the wastewater project and Myron, or Becker Hobby for the water.
Okay.
Okay?
So you've seconded my amendment to my motion?
I have. So we have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? So we're on to item 2 with the wastewater treatment facility project, Myron Construction Pay Estimate Number 1. Obviously, we've talked about this one too. As Susan said, this one too will need the wage sheets that, and you want me to work with Alan on a little bit different cover sheet before this goes in to the board, or?
Yes, because I guess I'm still looking back at the contract, and again, I wasn't at the pre-cons or anything else or what you've agreed to, but at the end of the day, I think the court's going to look to the four corners of the contract, and I don't know why we don't put in there what our pattern and practice is, but there's significance to the engineer recommending payment, which is not in this cover letter.
Okay.
Because their recommendation of payment then constitutes representations to the city that, of various things that are contained here in the contract. So I didn't mean to be insulting when I said your letter was weak, but it just said, please review and consider processing this. Even, it didn't say we recommend this for payment. I'd like to see that in this cover letter as well, because then that representation means something pursuant to the contract.
Sure.
Contractual language.
And there is no offense taken. I just want to make sure that, that I'm presenting it to you in an acceptable format. So my response was basically, I'm okay. I'll put in whatever verbiage, is necessary, and I will do that. I'll revise this, cover letter, and I will have it, over to Eric, hopefully before the end of this meeting.
Thanks, Alan.
And so again, I don't see where it says that you don't have to have lien waivers, but if that's not typically done that way, then I would recommend that we consider changing this contract unless it's, is this some boilerplate that you use for?
It's in the form of a
EJCDC.
EJCDC, but I think, if we approve this first payment, we'll see those lien waivers from this point forward.
Yeah, and I have no doubt, I trust
yeah.
that, it's just
Yeah.
not consistent with the contract we signed, and
Yeah.
that's what's disturbing me, I'm
Sure.
sorry.
No,
Sure.
makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, understood. If I do, and if I do make that statement in here, that, that there are a reference to that where, I can actually call up that paragraph in the GCs where it states that all, lien waivers are required, and, just saying, is it all right if I make reference to that, stating that, engineers take an exception to that until the second pay app has been, requested, that during the first, as part of the first, pay app, that, contractors basically, majority of their expenses are, I guess would be their general, conditions, most majority of their expenses. But, is that all right to make a statement to that fact, or?
Sure, yes, I would appreciate that.
Okay, all right. Or I was just wondering, I don't know, Eric, if we would need to amend that contract, and we could do that through actually, if, and that would be to your liking, we could make a field order in which we actually change that, right? So $0 to the contract, but basically making that statement and that change, and then everybody's in agreement to it. Because it specifically state that the first pay app is not subject to lien waivers.
It's, oh, sorry.
I'm just not sure that, at this stage in the game, that's really a, a relevant effort, and,
Sure.
so, because we'll have those, so I appreciate that, Alan, but I think, I think if we're all under the understanding on why the lien waivers aren't here on the pay estimate number 1, then I think we'll be good to go moving ahead. I think it's just a note for us on future for using these documents that we may want to clean that up.
And it's,
And Ann, I appreciate the comment, because I'm going to take that back to our group as well to review similar language.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
and I'm not, again, just trying to understand the process, but if this lien waiver is going to, as Alan described it, going to be one affidavit from Myron saying none of their subs, they're not delinquent in paying any of their subs,
Correct.
really, that's not
Right.
that great of a thing anyhow. That's like asking the fox to say, I haven't been in the hen house,
Right.
Okay, but, I want to hear from the hens. And I'm not suggesting we hear from the hens, but I'm just saying,
Please,
it's
I don't
not
want
all
to.
that great to begin with, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
So-
and I will also note that on the contractor's application for payment number 1, there is a little box, contractor certification, that does say the undersigned contractor certifies to the best of their knowledge that title of all work materials and equipment incorporated into the said work or otherwise listed and are covered by this application for payment will pass to the owner at the time of payment, free and clear of all liens. So that gives me some measure of comfort.
Okay.
And if it's any, I know it's just lip service as well, but the subs will let you know if they're not getting paid, and that is also the secondary protection with the payment bond. So there's two levels here. So there is contractually there's plenty of teeth here, that we can go back.
Sure.
To the contractor, and nobody wants that black eye of a bond, ding, so, we need to we'll have to figure out what's going on, and of course, there would be no further payments until, that initial issue has been resolved. And Lord, we try to keep you out of that, but, definitely make you aware of the situation if it ever did come about. But, yeah, we're gonna try to avoid that situation. Again, I know it's lip service, and it's only as good as the fox, talking to the hen, so.
So I guess I'd make a motion to approve pay estimate 1 in the amount of $2,236,451.54 for the wastewater treatment facility project.
I'll second that.
Any further
And is
discussion?
that conditioned on them sending a letter saying they recommend payment by
Yes,
the end of the
that's
day?
with that-
Okay,
with that.
very good.
Okay.
Then I feel comfortable seconding that.
Thank you.
No other further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, I think we're done with those two. This is messy. In October, I don't want to be here for all of you that are here, so in October, let's try to clean this up a little bit. I appreciate all your explanations and your time today for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for your comments, Lori, thank you.
Likewise, thank you to all of you.
All right.
So, on to item number 3, open request for proposal for professional services regarding Stewart Avenue from 48th to 72nd. There was one proposal at the last meeting that was submitted downstairs here. It was on time, it just didn't get in the deal to open, so this is really just AECom. Yep. I'll blame Alan on that.
That's why I'm here. It was down in customer service, I just didn't check.
Okay, so we'll add this to the review list. All right. Motion to adjourn?
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.